Welcome to Community Conversations. I'm Frederick County Executive Jan Gardner, and I'm very pleased and honored to have as my guest today Chip Jewell, the Deputy Fire Chief for the Division of Volunteer Fire and Rescue Services. Well, Chip, I'm welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I'm happy to have you. Many people in our community know you and may or may not know that you're getting ready to retire and depart from your county paid service. We're sure we'll still see you out there volunteering in the community. But, you know, I have to start off by saying thank you for your many years of service to Frederick County. You've really done a great job. We'll miss you. And not only have you done a good job, you've just been a really nice person and really worked well with so many people over the years. So maybe you can share with our viewers a little bit of your history, how you began years ago with what was called Central Alarm before we had 911, till the present.
Yeah, well, first off, thank you, and it's been an honor to serve the county. I very much enjoyed it, very much working with the people. We have a great volunteer force in the county. We're a growing service on both sides, career and volunteer, but we have what I feel is the best combination fire rescue service in the state of Maryland, and we work very hard and very well together, and the citizens should be proud of every single person we have in uniform, volunteer and career, and we're very fortunate to have a strong career staff. We do have a great recruiting effort. We do a tremendous amount of training. So I'm very proud to have played a small part in that. But as you stated, it's been many years. I originally started full-time with Frederick County in 1972.
Wow.
That was then the Central Alarm, Frederick County Central Alarm, as a dispatcher, generally working by myself, one person on duty, and I always tell people, and they don't believe today.
Dispatching to the whole county.
Yep, the whole county, and you could go 3 or 4 nights in a row and never have a call. That's how slow it was in the county. Some nights, people don't realize back in the 70s and 60s, WFMD, all the radio stations went off the air, all the television stations went off the air. So, you know, you'd have a real quiet night the first time the phone rings sometimes when Tommy Grumwell woke you up at 4:30, 5 o'clock to find out if there's any news overnight. But we had a phone in the bathroom because you worked by yourself. And when you combine, you know, that year we probably handled maybe 1,000 emergency calls the entire year, to the fact that last year, just fire rescue alone, communications handled probably well over 35,000 calls.
Yeah.
So it's a tremendous difference from a dial telephone and no 911 to where our communications is today and where our fire rescue service is today.
Yeah, well, I think there was probably a different expectation about when you called for help, too.
Yes.
And even if you called for help.
Exactly, yeah. EMS at that time, really there were very few ambulances, quite honestly. I recall we had a serious fire at what was then the Francis Scott Key Hotel on the 5th floor, and we only had a couple ambulances in the city, and I believe we had Middletown, and I was working by myself, I believe Carroll Manor, but we even had 2 funeral homes actually brought ambulances down to assist, just because there were very few ambulances in the county. A lot of people don't realize when you drive around Frederick City proper, look at Walkersville and Newmarket and Urbana and Braddock Heights, none of those ambulances existed at all. In fact, Urbana didn't even exist as a fire company for a period of time.
Well, one of the things that you know is the history of the Frederick County Fire Service. I mean, I think you probably know that better than anybody else. So what do you think have been some of the most significant changes over the years? I mean, you just spoke to a few of them.
Well, probably the biggest change over the service in Frederick County, Frederick City, was in fact in 1989, when the 4 city companies were absorbed into a county and there became a county fire rescue service. And that came about because of concerns of responses outside the city limits and the growth outside the city. For many, many years, only one fire engine went outside of Frederick, and it was the Independent Hose Company, which at that time was located right downtown Frederick on Church Street. And the city of Frederick would purchase one engine, and Frederick County would purchase one engine, and if a fire was in the county engine responded. If the fire was in Frederick City, the city engine responded, and if they needed more help, the other engine would go outside. But the juniors and the Citizens Truck Company and the United stayed in town. So that started to evolve. The volunteer companies bought their own engines, and they would start to run out, and as the call volume increased outside of Frederick, really the mayor at the time, Ron Young, literally came to the Firemen's Association and Fire Rescue Association and said, okay, we've got to come up with a plan because something has to happen to assist the city of Frederick. So at that point, we appointed a task force of volunteers, commissioners, aldermen, planning, just about everybody involved, both city and county. and put together what we called the task force report. And in 1989, after going to the General Assembly, getting permission, we actually, the County of Frederick, implemented Fire Rescue Service, had a tax district, authorization for tax district, so the general Frederick area became the first fire tax, and then responded units to whoever was closer went, regardless if it was Frederick City or Frederick County. So that was a dramatic change, because overnight, city employees became county employees.
Right.
So it was a big change.
There weren't very many of them back in those days.
I think it was 36, I believe, total.
So. Well, and now, of course, we have a much larger service.
Yeah.
It is combination, as you mentioned, tens of thousands of calls every year throughout the county. Obviously, many of them are along our interstates and in our urban areas. But can you give us some reflections on the volunteer service over the years? I know and maybe speak a little bit about the Fire Museum up in Emmitsburg.
Yeah. The volunteer service has obviously changed, not only in Frederick, but nationally. You know, the demographics of the community has changed. People move into the area, they're working 2 jobs, the kids are in soccer and band, and so the time commitment is difficult to recruit, although we have a very strong recruiting effort. We're very fortunate. We received a grant several years ago, and our goal was 100 people per year. And we pretty much met the goal of total people. We didn't quite meet the number of trained firefighter 1, but that really was kind of a misnomer, because how do you train somebody day 1 of the grant? So we were very successful, though. We still continue to recruit over 100 people a year countywide. And we have about 700 operational. When I say operational, that is trained, taking a physical and a fit test, and a total of about 1,700 volunteers in Frederick County that are active in some way. So when you look at a volunteer firehouse, it's not just what goes out the door, but it's also what's in the building, raising the funds, because the majority apparatus and the vast majority of the buildings are still owned, maintained, and supported by the volunteer companies.
So yeah, people still do need to know that. Of course, I think, a lot of the fundraising has involved carnivals and lots of other community events. And that really has helped to create that great sense of community and place that we have in Frederick County. I know there are people who go to all the carnivals all around the county through the summer, because I see some of the same people at every event. But that's really been a strong sense of who we are in Frederick County.
It is. And, unfortunately, the carnivals are becoming less and less. They're more expensive to actually have the carnivals. The ride contractors are very few. Having the carnival, having a location, having the parking, and having the manpower. That's a very, very labor-intensive week when you have a carnival. But, it also is a major fundraiser still in several of the volunteer companies. But they have the bingos and the various raffles, dinners. There's still quite a few variations of fundraising that the companies do.
Yes, and that takes a lot of people. That's why when you say you have 700 operational people and maybe 1,000 more other volunteers, they're the people that were out there running bingo and events and supporting the paperwork and all the other things that need to be done to make a volunteer company
And for the most part, your operational people are also chipping in and helping with the fundraising.
Oh, absolutely.
So it truly is a community effort and a partnership of the volunteers of the community to make it work.
Well, I hope we don't ever see the carnivals and some of these community events go away, because I think they're great fun and a great way to build a sense of community. So any key accomplishments you want to talk about?
I think, countywide, we've been very fortunate. We have a database now that we did not have, so we're getting very accurate information on not only the numbers of people that we have, but able to track the physicals and the fit testing. We've been very aggressive in our life safety efforts and our safety efforts for our personnel. The physicals are, I believe, a major accomplishment. We have, without question, we've saved lives. We have one member who really accredits his fire department physical with saving his life when they picked up an anomaly. So we're very proud of that the county has been very cooperative in funding the physical program. So we take the same volunteer physical as the same career, so we all take the same physical. So that's a real positive thing. Part of that is because of physicals and our aggressiveness with safety. We've been able to decrease our workers' comp premium by several $100,000 over the last several years, and I think that's a tribute. We've been able to continue to aggressively recruit volunteers. So we've done a lot, and when I say it truly is a we, because it is an effort of an awful lot of people. The Volunteer Fire Rescue Association's strong leadership. Eric Smothers is the president of the association, and Alan Hurley, the vice president, and Jim May. So we have some really good people at the helm. And so we've been very fortunate, the Volunteer Association, the 26 companies, their presidents and chiefs, and the leadership there. And it truly is a partnership of many, many volunteers at many, many levels to work with county government to help provide the citizens the highest level of service.
Oh, very good. So now what are you planning to do in the future? Have you even had time to think about that?
Oh, not a whole lot. Well, first I have 5 grandkids. That's as you just had a grandchild, so
Yep.
you'll find out that that's a wonderful part of life. So we have a great time. In fact, my one granddaughter, my wife goes every Monday to assist our son because of the schedules of them. And our granddaughter a couple weeks ago says, "Grandma, when's Granddad coming down?" So I guess I'll be going down to pretty regular. But looking with the grandkids, I teach for MIFRE. I haven't been able to teach quite as much as I'd like to in the past because of a lot of night work. So I'll be teaching hopefully more from MIFRE. In fact, I'll be teaching a fire officer program starting in January. Still have my insurance license, so I may wind up doing a little insurance on the side, and then we'll be doing a little traveling, which we've been able to do some.
And you certainly deserve to go and have some fun and enjoy yourself.
Yeah, and I'll be active in the volunteers. I'll be very active at Liberty Town and still active also up at the juniors. I go to the juniors meeting, not quite as active operationally at the juniors, but still active operationally at Liberty Town. So I'll still be active at the association meetings. So I'll still be and the museum, you mentioned that. The Fire Museum up in Emmitsburg.
Yeah, well, maybe you should give a little pitch about what's up in Emmitsburg with the museum.
Love to have people come up. It's wintertime. We're not open on weekends, but starting in April. And we actually have a lot of artifacts at the museum. We literally have something from every company in Frederick County. We have the hand pumper that fought the courthouse fire in 1861 that at the time was owned by the United Fire Company. The Uniteds also have their 1939 Aaron's Fox. We have the 1893 hose carriage of the Independent Hose Company, which you saw in the Kris Kringle Parade this year.
Oh, yes.
And then on a more solemn note, a few weeks ago, we dedicated a memorial to all the line of duty deaths that have occurred in Frederick County. So we have pictures of just about all those, and the families were able to come up. So we wanted to also tribute and pay honor to those that have given the ultimate sacrifice serving in the Frederick County Fire Service.
So for anybody who wants to go visit the museum, it's located right in front of the former school, which is now the location of the library and the town offices, and it's open on weekends in the summer?
It'll be open, starting in April, be open on the weekends, on Saturdays, Sundays. So we'll be glad to hopefully come up. We may be having, as you heard today, maybe a little more addition. We're working on another feature. No, won't make public yet, but we're working on a few other features.
I think that's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
So. Well, I really want to thank you for all you've done for Frederick County. I am in denial that you are leaving, and I know that I will see you out volunteering in the community, and that if we need anything, we can still call on you. So,
absolutely.
You embody the spirit of service, and I really can't thank you enough. And on behalf of the citizens of this county, we wish you a wonderful retirement.
Thank you, and I thank the citizens in Frederick County, the former commissioner boards, the present council, and you for the opportunity to be a part of county government. So thank you very much, and it's been an honor to be a part of the public services county.
So thank you for joining us for this edition of Community Conversations. If you see Chip Jewell out in the community volunteering at one of our volunteer fire or rescue companies, say thank you. Chip has done a lot to make sure that people in our community are taken care of and get help when they need it. So my hats off to Chip Jewell. Thank you for joining us.